if you are wrong, then it's just legendary misadventure. You just move on.
Anytime I make a mistake, I'm gonna like miss an exit and be like, we're going on a legendary misadventure.
After a leaked memo from Meta, or I don't know if I would call it a memo, or like Meta has a private forum apparently, and this was a post in the forum. Andrew Bosworth?
Yeah.
Andrew Bosworth.
How'd you forget
posted,
Andrew?
I know, man. I don't know. It's a long
Andrew,
day.
weird
His name starts with an A.
Wrote a pretty long post about why 2025 might be the make or break year for the metaverse. I thought it was kind of interesting because of how deep into the metaverse we are, sort of.
I completely misread this title in the doc, and this whole time I thought it was about the Fediverse. So I was ready for David to go off. And now I'm just realizing now it's the metaverse.
I'm going to read, I have a couple questions about this that I want to pose to you guys. And I'm going to read the opening paragraph of his post.
I'm ready.
So it says, 2025, the year of greatness. Next year is going to be the most critical year in my 8 years at Reality Labs. We have the best portfolio of products we've ever had in the market and are pushing our advantage by launching half a dozen more AI-powered wearables. We need to drive sales, retention, and engagement across the board, but especially in MR.
Mixed reality.
Yeah. And Horizon Worlds on mobile absolutely has to break out for long-term plans to have a chance. If you don't feel the weight of history on you, then you aren't paying attention. This year likely determines whether this entire effort will go down as the work of visionaries or legendary misadventure. First of all, bars. At the ends there.
Andrew Barsworth.
Nice.
Dang.
But I guess he goes on then to talk more about like how much of a pivotal moment this is, how people should be doing the best work of their careers this year, and then also how small teams can also succeed, which sounds like hey guys, I know we laid off a bunch of you, but you still can pull this off for us. And it just felt weird. And I guess my question is, we see Meta so recently really focusing on this like AR, VR, XR, whatever you want to call it. They're super deep into Quest. We saw the glasses not too long ago that they feel like they're kind of ahead of the curve on. When he says this is make or break for the metaverse, what are we talking about? Are we talking about XR in general? Are we talking about the physical like meta world? Horizon worlds would be it for them, like the virtual world? Or are we talking about like goggles because maybe they're moving more towards glasses, which is way more focused on augmented reality and like your own world with things on it? So I was interested in this. It feels like when you just read the title, it's like Meta's freaking out about anything XR related, but I'm starting to wonder if it's more about like the creepy Mark Zuckerberg.
He's talking about this.
Yeah, Metaverse.
He's talking about Mark Zuckerberg in front of the Eiffel Tower.
No, I think it's
the legless.
It's kind of a combination of some of those things. I feel so. We have seen some advancements lately in the world of mixed reality. We just showed Samsung's headset, the Project Muhan, which is, again, this weird thing where a bunch of companies feel the need to show us products before they come out, or that in some cases aren't even coming out, just to flex that they are working on this, it's coming soon. And I think that this is along the lines of believing that they will finally ship something that feels like it's, you know, a usable, real pair of AR glasses. Like the Snapchat Spectacles are a developer kit, essentially, right? The Meta glasses that they showed us, the glasses
Orion.
Orion are not a real product, but they showed them off just to get them in front of people. Look, we're doing this. Project Muhan, Samsung, prototypey coming later this year. Again, there's a bunch of movement towards a bunch of companies all poised to ship something they just haven't yet.
I think it's interesting you go straight to Orion glasses though, because to me this feels like Orion is their focus, but like the rest of Reality Labs and the Horizon Worlds-esque, VR-esque stuff is like, this is our last year to prove that this might be a thing. Because Meta, before we saw Orion,
before AI,
was super focused on like the digital world that you would be in and how it's so much better to work in this digital world.
Yeah.
And how it's better to like do all these different things. It's how you're never alone. You always have the option to be with people and in this cool environment. And I feel like this post to me feels more along the lines of like, hey, all of this stuff that we've been working on for a while, we may just totally pivot at the end of 2025 and kill the rest of the metaverse as a like place.
I think the metaverse is more of an umbrella term.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't see Orion glasses as the metaverse.
You don't.
Yeah.
But it is like part of the mixed reality
Yeah.
thing.
It's like XR. The way I see it, they went all in on the metaverse. That's why they changed their name to Meta. And then when AI happened the year after, they were like, oh,
I hadn't thought of that.
maybe that was, yeah.
No, but I hadn't thought of like they literally changed their name to Meta, and
Yeah.
now it's like, well, we might give up on the metaverse. Are they going to change their name again?
Well, that's
be
why he's
awesome.
saying this year will determine if this entire effort, aka
Yeah.
naming our company Meta and tripling down, quadrupling down
Yeah.
on this like VR, AR, metaverse thing,
Yeah.
will go down as the work of visionaries because they were early to doing this and they really committed to it, or legendary misadventure. The world
Yeah.
moved on without them and people didn't care about it.
Well, what they were trying to do before was make the next browser or the next Google. Like the way they wanted to be the next platform.
Like internet. Yeah.
So Mark was like, oh, we can like quadruple down on being the next version of the internet, and then we'll own the platform and we own the OS that we can license out and all of this stuff. And I don't think anybody has used Horizon Worlds or cares about it. Like it really feels like they never fleshed that out to a level that people actually gave.
Here comes
Do you
Android
not
XR.
remember when we played the Cheetos Halloween world?
Oh yeah,
That was revolutionary.
right.
Other than
Yeah.
you don't remember there was like in
The
Horizon
Chester
Worlds,
the Cheeto.
Chester the Cheeto like haunted house world.
Because remember for the like 8 months where every company was like, we have a metaverse division now, and people
Yeah.
were buying real estate in the
Chief
metaverse.
officer.
Yeah. Disney had a chief metaverse officer, and then they got rid of that role like 8 months later.
I think that was back when Meta went around convincing everyone that they were going to be the company that made the metaverse a thing.
Yeah.
And now it's not so clear that Meta's the only one who will have a stake in this new platform that we're
But I
heading
feel like
towards.
the metaverse as a platform, Meta originally foresaw as mostly a digital world. Whereas now it feels like everyone's like, oh, AI is enabling all of these other things that are just XR experiences.
Yeah.
And so they're pivoting hard to mostly XR stuff because like the Ray-Bans are actually a hit. Like the Ray-Bans are actually selling units, whereas the Quest, everyone knows what the Quest for. It's for VR gaming. So I think they're basically like, if we cannot make our original 2020 metaverse version of what we were going to do happen this year, we basically need to pivot the entire company towards XR.
I think even
and
the
AI.
Quest is starting. Like they started making way better pass through with it when they killed the Quest Pro. They
Yeah.
just were like, oh, cheaper version. Let's do a lot of the pass through stuff, a lot of the functionality in
Right.
your own world kind of things.
Yeah.
So even that, the thing that was their like
Yeah.
moneymaker metaverse thing is even pivoting towards.
Yeah. And they are doing that they originally were doing that to compete with the Vision Pro, but now they're like, oh, it just turns out that people want this more than they want to be fully encased in a
Did
virtual
they destroy
world.
themselves by releasing a hit with the Meta Ray-Bans?
No, I think it just became
It's just
more
a
clear
different-
what people actually want.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where nobody knows what they want until they try it and they like it. So like Meta's trying a bunch of different things and they have the Meta Ray-Bans and they have the Quest and they're going to make glasses and they're just doing a bunch of different versions of the thing and one of them will be a hit, hopefully. for
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
But enough of a hit to like justify this crazy investment that they've been doing?
They want it to be. I mean, they want it to be the thing that everyone like. Every company wants the next iPhone, which is like probably pretty unrealistic. But every company is thinking that way. Like we want to be the ones that pioneer the next big thing,
Yeah.
and it will be worth pivoting our whole company because we are now the ones that control and have made this thing
Yeah.
that we can profit from.
There's a strong irony where Meta is constantly talking about making like Llama open source and how like open source software makes everything better, but yet they won't open up the Threads API. So
What-
when it benefits you, I guess.
Waveform's been around long enough to watch Facebook change its name and potentially regret changing its name.
Dang.
Meta is still kind of a banger name though. Okay.
Banger?
Banger
I don't know
is a
about
word.
banger. Could be a
disagree.
banger. Could be legendary misadventure. Never know.
Andrew
Legendary
Barsworth.
Misadventure is an awesome way of
a bar.
saying,
That's a band name.
wow, we spend way too much money on this.
Legend.
Yeah.
And you're all getting fired.
He's like, we are either the people who have charted history or we are losers, but we're going to say that in a much nicer way. Legendary misadventure.
What would a success look like for them?
We would
that
all
mean
be in. People would be watching Waveform inside
in headsets,
the
right?
Metaverse
Like
now.
that's such a hard.
Hit products.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Hit products or experiences that are sort of familiar to all.
Yeah.
Like success for Android was like a whole bunch of people using Android phones, and now Google can build inside of Android, and everyone gets these things. Hit for Apple with the iPhone was pretty obvious, like huge market share takeover in a bunch of regions, and like now they're a services company building on top of the iPhone. Like it's this thing that they control. It's a platform for them. Success for Meta is hit product that they can then build a bunch of things on top of / around that they control.
So
Yeah.
is the product the headset or the
TBD.
Horizon?
I think
Worlds?
what we're talking about here is
TBD.
I really think they thought the product was Horizon Worlds, / the Metaverse / the
that's- you
digital
don't-
world you kind of live in.
You got to buy a product to access that.
Yeah, but I think there's more money in that being the default.
Like they want it to be the
thing.
Android, basically.
I think they wanted it to be the new internet, pretty much,
Yeah, the new Android.
where you spend all your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now Android
Your new
XR.
browser.
It's
Sure.
literally Android.
Yeah. I still don't really know what it's for.
It's for all the headsets that aren't running Meta's or Apple's OSs.
Okay, but here's a question. When have you ever seen someone use a headset? And
On my
Ellis does
flight-
not count.
On my flight back from San Antonio on Sunday, I sat behind someone who was wearing a Vision Pro who was gesturing wildly for 2 hours on a flight.
Interesting. I've never seen that before.
That's the first time I've seen it. But it's a thing.
Yeah.
And I imagine that $3,000 headset will not be seen in the public very often, but way more of the cheaper $200, $300, $400, $500 headsets
Yeah.
will start to show up over the next couple of years. And if you're a company like Google or Meta and you know that that's true and you know that this hardware is coming down in price and here comes Project Muhan and then there's going to be a bunch of other stuff, you want to be the ones that are on as many of these headsets as possible.
Yeah.
So
We've been on this ride so many times. Like back in 2016, I was a VR reporter specifically. And I just remember like BMW was like, oh, we are using HTC Vives to model the inside of our cars. And I'm pretty sure they weren't.
Yeah,
and that
Lucid
they had
does.
given one engineer a Vive and said, try this so that they could make a press release alongside HTC to make it seem like people cared about VR.
yeah.
And I just, this is like the fourth time that we've had this like VR. Actually, it's probably more than the fourth time.
Yeah, I think I resonate hard with that. The same exact thing happened with me. I visited Lucid, and they were like, "Here, put this headset on." You see, we designed the cars with the headsets. I'm like, "No, you
No, you
No, you
didn't.
don't,
You did not.
But every company wants to seem
Yeah.
one ahead of the curve or early to stuff.
Totally.
So if this seems like it might be the future, they'll just proclaim that this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And two, if you are wrong, then it's just legendary misadventure. You just move on.
Is that
I'm going
the
to call
title of
every
this
mistake
podcast?
I've ever
That's
made.
the title of this podcast.
That's the title.
Waveform episode 272, Our Legendary Misadventure.
Anytime I make a mistake, I'm going to like miss an exit and be like, we're going on a legendary misadventure.
It does sound like a choose your own adventure book that they just picked the wrong task
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
That sounds like you're blazing past the exit. Like, yeah, no, we'll be good. We'll be
Banger.
Good.
All right.
Did you hit the subscribe button? It's behind the
Make sure
paywall.
to subscribe to us on Phoebe and like this on Turbo.
If you
Turbo.
have a free account with a trial, you can find the like button on Doomsday.
Fubu.
Yeah, Fubu's a real company. I'm not joking.
It's hard to
You think
know.
I'm lying? It's
No,
not.
it's a clothing company.
Yeah.
Wait, it's not a streaming company?
Not yet.
That's Fubo.
It might be.
Not
It
with that
could
attitude.
be.
It could be.
Fubo is a streaming company now?
Doesn't Chick-fil-A has a streaming
That
service
did
now, doesn't it?
happen. Some of these are like real trivia
Chick-fil-A is a
questions.
streaming service? What?
That's where they put the like button. So
We need an In-N-Out streaming service ASAP.